Sometimes everything that you think does not need to be said, right? A lot of times, especially I'm a mom. I have two daughters. One is 28 and one is about to be 22. And when I tell you, sometimes when people tell you things, they don't want to hear your feedback. They just want you to listen. Hi, this is Toni Coleman Brown, and welcome back to my channel where I help you to learn how to win in not only business but also in life. So, once again, my name is Toni Coleman Brown. I want to thank you for being here, and today I want to continue talking to you about one of the things that I've learned now that I've turned 60 years old. So I've turned 60 and I want to talk to you guys about the power of being quiet. Okay? I wish I would have learned this a long time ago. I mean, like growing up, I was always known as a chatty patty. I mean, I was just constantly yakety 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 yakety. And when I tell you I was talking about anything and everything, anything that popped in my head, it was almost like I couldn't stand for just quiet. I couldn't stand for there to have any kind of silent noise. I always had to fill it with something, right? And even in, office settings, even when I would meet people, I just found that sometimes I would just share a little bit too much. But as I grew older, one of the things that I've discovered is that being quiet is not only a gift, but sometimes being quiet is a sign of power. When I would talk to kids, and, one of the things I used to do as a director of the internship program at the MTA with New York City Transit, I used to tell people, I used to train them on, interviewing skills. And one of the things I used to say to them was this. I used to say that a lot of times when you guys are interviewing, one of the things you want to do is just keep rambling on and on and on and on and on. Well, sometimes you need to be quiet. As I said, sometimes when somebody asks you a question, you don't always necessarily have to just start rambling right away. There is power in the pause. So, a lot of times, if you lose your train of thought, it's quite okay to just be quiet and gather your thoughts and then begin to speak. So, a lot of times in life, we find that we just want to just keep going and going and going and going and going, even when what we're saying is not making any sense. We just want to keep going and going and going and going. But there is power in just being quiet. Give yourself the space and give yourself the grace to not have to immediately respond to something that someone asks you. I remember when I used to watch Barack Obama. One of the things he used to do a lot of times is when he was trying to gather his thoughts, he would say, uh, and if you ever have been a member of Toastmasters, you probably were sitting there just counting. Every time he said every time he said every time he used a filler word, you probably was just counting in your head. Because when you're a part of Toastmasters, this is something that you learn to do. You learn to count every time you use filler words, and every time you use words like, and so I do that all the time. I still use a lot of filler words. But one of the things, like I said before, or what I was saying earlier, is that when I would train my students to take interviews, I would say just be quiet. Just hold that long pregnant pause, because there's power in that pause. There's power in when you gather your thoughts. When you gather your thoughts and you're sitting there, you're coming from a position of strength. And it's okay to say, one second, let me think for a minute, and think about how you want to answer the question. because it's just so important for you to be able to be still and then speak. And then also, the other thing I learned about sometimes being quiet is sometimes everything that you think does not need to be said, right? A lot of times, especially, I'm a mom. I have 2 daughters. One is 28 and one is about to be 22. And when I tell you, sometimes when people tell you things, they don't want to hear your feedback. They just want you to listen. And my girls are so strong and so powerful that they've said to me, "Ma, I didn't call you just for you to give me your advice. I just want you to listen. Sometimes I just want you to listen and be quiet." Right? But as a parent, a lot of times we just want to say how we feel. We want to first react emotionally, and our kids don't want to hear that. Sometimes they want us to just shut up and be quiet. And sometimes you just need to do that. And then also, let's not talk about relationships. I've been married almost 25 years. And I have to tell you that I used to fight when I was younger, when we were young in our child, please. I used to fight. I used not physically fight, but argue a lot, slam doors, you know, just make a lot of noise, a lot of hoopla. For what? It wasn't even worth it. And what I've learned in a relationship is sometimes you just need to be quiet. Even when you feel like you're offended by something, sometimes you just need to be quiet because sometimes it's not the right place to address a situation. Sometimes it's just not the right time to even address a situation. Sometimes you need to be quiet. And you know what will happen oftentimes when you're just being quiet? Is as you let the time pass, you forget about what upset you in the first place. And that just lets you know, child, it was never really that deep. And you just got yourself all twisted. You got your panties all in a bunch for no reason. Sometimes you just need to be quiet. And that's one of the things that I've learned since I was 60. A lot of people will tell you that I was always quiet. But a lot of people will tell you who really know me is that I talk a lot. So over the years, I've learned how to be quiet because I've had a lot of situations that burned me, and especially situations with telling people that I really didn't know things that they really didn't need to know. And that burned me a lot because I've told the wrong things to the wrong people and it got back to the right wrong person, and it hurt me in the end. So a lot of times you just need to be quiet, especially when talking to people that you really don't know. Don't overshare. It's not cute. It's really not. And you don't know who that person knows, who knows the person that you may be talking about or saying things about. If you're just meeting someone, definitely you got to be quiet. You got to fill people out. You got to learn who they are because you don't know who you're talking to. So, therefore, certain things that you may want to say, you shouldn't say. So that's my lesson for today, guys. Just have some reserve about yourself as you are aging and getting better like fine wine, and don't tell everybody everything and don't say everything that comes to mind, because there's a time and a place for all of it, but sometimes in life you have to be quiet. So that's one of the things that I've learned now that I'm 60 years old, and I'm going to continue with this series. And I hope that you watch the next video that will pop up on your screen so you can learn another one of the things that I've learned since I turned 60 years old. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to the channel, and you will be learning some things that will help you to grow, not only in business, but also in life. Because I'm Toni Coleman Brown, and that's what I do. I help to teach people things that will help them to grow, not just in business, but also in life. You take care, and I will see you on the next video.